We turn now to team coverage. First, from CitrusTV News political analyst Luke Radel. Luke, let's get right to it. Why was Trump arrested?
Nicole and Walker, Trump is being accused of falsifying business records to cover up alleged affairs. Further, prosecutors allege Trump did it to help him win the 2016 presidential election. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg alleges the former president, quote, repeatedly and fraudulently falsified business records to conceal crimes that hid damaging information and unlawful activity from voters in the 2016 presidential election. Here's the alleged timeline laid out by the Manhattan DA. In a 2015 Trump Tower meeting, the CEO of a media company met with Trump and agreed to find negative stories about him. But instead of publishing these stories, the CEO, David Pecker, went and told the Trump team about those stories so that they could pay them to keep the sources quiet. It's a scheme that the DA calls catch and kill, and he mentions 3 different cases of this allegedly occurring. Then, to keep the payments secret before the 2016 presidential election, prosecutors say Trump falsified business records to make the hush money payments look less suspicious. Trump surrendered to authorities in Manhattan and was officially placed under arrest. However, he's not your average criminal defendant. Trump did not take a mugshot and was not handcuffed before the arraignment. Before entering the courthouse, Trump sent out a message to supporters on Truth Social, writing, quote, heading to Lower Manhattan, the courthouse seems so surreal. Wow, they're going to arrest me. Can't believe this is happening in America. Make America great again. Now, notably, Trump pled not guilty in court today, and his campaign has even started selling shirts with that message on it. But if a jury did find Trump guilty per state criminal code, he could be sentenced to a maximum of 136 years in prison, 4 years for each of the 34 counts. Nicole?
Thank you. We'll come back to you soon, but we're continuing our team coverage tonight with John Perrick. Now, John, you've been in New York City all day at these protests. What can you tell us?
Guys, good evening. A much quieter scene here outside of the Manhattan Criminal Courthouse where former President Donald Trump was arraigned. Earlier today, though, protests galvanizing the square behind me, both pro and anti-Trump protesters coming to express their opinions following the indictment of the former president. A historic and hectic day in the Big Apple.
It's about having a voice.
I think it's important for people to come out to these events and see for themselves what's actually happening.
What clearly is going on is an attempt to prevent the American people from being able to decide the future of their own country.
This morning, protesters met outside of the Manhattan Criminal Court to express their opinions on former President Trump's indictment. And there were no shortage of Trump supporters, some more extreme than others.
Let the people know who are the real criminals, who are the ones who are supposed to be in there behind bars, not Trump.
But counter-protesters were also making their voices heard.
It's a danger to democracy. I mean, the worst thing that this ex-president has done is putting democracy in doubt.
Trump's visit to court today is over the allegations involving hush money paid to adult film star Stormy Daniels.
These are the actual investigations that are being conducted against this president. The first one has just come into fruition.
They want to silence us, and they want to get rid of Trump.
Michael Corridon is an immigrant from Ireland.
We have to allow freedom to reign. If America falls, the world falls.
Whether left, right, or center, Americans tonight are looking for answers. In New York City, on a hectic and historic day, John Perrick, CitrusTV News.
And joining us now from outside the courthouse where President Trump was arraigned is CitrusTV political analyst Jake Morell. Jake, good evening. Looking ahead, what is the outlook on this case if it ends up going to trial? And who are the key witnesses?
Luke, good evening. And if this case goes to trial, it could be a very interesting one. We learned in grand jury that David Pecker, the former CEO of American Media, claims that he paid off Karen McDougal, a former Playboy model, in another alleged affair with Trump. And speaking of those key witnesses, Michael Cohen, of course, the former Trump lawyer, could testify. He was in prison from 2018 to 2021 for making the original hush money payment to Stormy Daniels. So if this case goes to trial, it could be a fiery one.
This is a historic day, and are we going to see anything like this case again in the near future?
You know, Luke, this is absolutely a historic day. The first time in U.S. history that a sitting or former U.S. president has been criminally indicted, but we could see this happen again in the near future. Trump is still facing the January 6th probe. He's still facing the Mar-a-Lago documents case, and he's also still facing an election denial case in Georgia. So absolutely a historic day today, but we could see another indictment coming in the next few months or years.
From that Manhattan courtroom and into the court of public opinion, we've seen intense political reaction both nationwide and on the ground today. Besides the former president, who else was in New York for this arraignment?
You know, Luke, as John mentioned, it was a hectic scene here this morning. I'm actually standing in between the barrier that the NYPD put up between the pro-Trump protesters and the anti-Trump protesters. But we saw a lot of different politicians here today riling up either base. On the Republican side, we saw Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia. We also saw Representative George Santos of New York. And on the Democrat side, we saw Representative Jamal Bowman of New York. So lots of big political players here in New York City today. But that's all I've got. Reporting live on this historic day from New York City, Jake Morell, Citrus TV News.